I said, Bobbi, I was called to come here and help your daughter bring her back successfully. And the success was done. God did it through my hands. I said, Bobbi, I did not come here for the political side of this. I didn't come here to get involved like that. And when he said, Doc, you gotta do it, he said it to me again. When Bobbi said it to me the second time to do it, God told me to get in there. So I said, okay, Bobbi, I'll go in there, I'll do it. Hour later, I walk into this room. In this room, the head CEO, the chief of staff, the head doctor, the surgeon, the head administrator, the head nurse. There was one side of the table with about 12 people. And on the side of the table I'm sitting on, like I'm sitting on this side of the table right now, I said, I'm not here for what you think I'm here for. I said, I'm not here for a child of Bobbi Brown. I'm not here for a child of Whitney Houston. I said, I'm here for a child of God.
When you came into Bobbi Kristina's room, can you explain what you saw?
Okay. First of all, before I went to the room, there was a little cleanup had to be done. The security at the hospital said, hey, Doc, we got to do a little cleanup first. I said, what do you mean cleanup? He said, you and Bobbi got to hold on a minute before you walk inside. I said, hold on for what? He says, look up. When I looked up, I saw some guys in the trees. He said, we got cameramen in the trees all around this Peachtree Hospice Care Facility Center right down here in Atlanta, okay? And there was people in the trees, and I didn't know it. There was, honestly, when I showed up at the Peachtree Hospice Care Center, there were 1,500 photographers. Yes, oh yes. I said about 1,500. It's a sea of photographers. Blah, 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 blah. Flashing, 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 flashing. Okay?
Wow.
And so they had to do a little cleanup, and the security guy said, look up in the tree. And we saw a guy up in the tree, and he had like 4 or 5 big pillows, and he had himself propped, and he looked like he had a $200,000 camera, and he was leaning like this, leaning straight toward Bobbi Kristina's window. So they had to get a few guys out, as much as they could out, and then I went inside. When I walked inside, Pat Houston had agreed. She agreed, and the doctor, the chief head CEO of the hospital, had agreed to allow me to come in and help, because Bobbi said he's bringing this person in, so he had to go and talk to those people, make sure they agreed, so I could come and do the work, right? What's the point of having me fly all the way down here if he can't do anything? So as I was going into the room, Pat Houston started going crazy. Oh, blah, 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 blah. He can't go in. He can't, da, 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 da. And Bobbi looked at her like, what's your problem? And she go, he can't, da, 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 he can't, da, da, da. And then the security at the front, at the desk right there, Bobbi Kristina's room, the security guys at the desk said, hold it. He said, we know, Pat, that you don't want this man here, but this is Bobbi Brown's daughter, and he has the right to bring a visitor in if he wants to. So they overrode Pat and basically told her to get out of here and shut up.
Yeah.
And when I walked into the room, the first thing I noticed was I took a walk around the facility before I walked in the room. Meaning I walked around the facility of nursing care, and what I did was, because my father was the chief of the VA hospital for 45 years. So I took a little walk around, did my own little perusal, and I'm looking to see what kind of care, what kind of cleanliness, what kind of what's going on with this facility. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that just about everybody in there has some form of food, something to intake. But I noticed when I went in Bobbi Kristina's room, Princess Bobbi Kristina, the first thing I noticed was, here's a young lady in a bed. I wanted to start crying. She's in a bed with nothing connected to it. I don't see no source of nothing that looks like food. I don't see IV bags. I don't see food trays. I don't see nothing. So the first thing that immediately hit my brain, like I said, my father was hospital chief. Mm-hmm. How's this person being fed? Oh, you guys depriving her, denying her food? That's the first thing went to my brain. I don't see any old trays, no old this, because you always see something a little left over, you know what I mean? I see nothing in here. And so I walked around and I didn't see the IVs. So I said to Bobby, I said, Bobby, I need to get started. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do a few things here. And I did some pressure points with her. If you hold out your hand like this and I squeeze, hold out your hand, lean over just a little bit. I'm going to squeeze your hand in the camera. I'm going to do it so the camera sees. You see right here, that web skin right there? That skin right there I'm squeezing? In between each finger is skin. This is a pressure point. When I squeeze through right here, through the thumb right here, that opens up the heart. When I squeeze through here, it opens up through the bladder, through the liver, and through your kidney. If I squeeze hard, I could feel the pain in your brain. The pain that you feel, I can feel it. I feel it in your fingertips. So I teach young children how you can squeeze pressure points. Look at me, ladies and gentlemen. Here, if you didn't see good there, I'm doing it again. You see that little web? It looks like a web between the two skins. Squeeze it as hard as you can. You can't put enough pressure to it and make it hurt. And the more it hurts, it lets you know that one of your organs is down. Your heart's down. Your liver's down. Your bladder's down. Your kidney's down. Let me tell you how they did it back in the days. Let me tell you how they did it with the Africans and the people they made slaves in America. They would take the African and put him up on this big post up here, and he's standing up there right before they're hanging him and trying to decide, we're going to hang this slave, we're going to keep him. You know what they do with the African? They open up his mouth. And when they look at your mouth and pull up your gums, if your gums are black and purple, you got kidney, liver, bladder problems. So I want everybody to go like this and pull up your gums. If you don't see pink and you see purple and black and this and that and this and that, you got problems. And it occurs to me sometimes. Sometimes I'll get a little area go dark, and that lets you know you got to clean it up. Okay? They also took the black man and they would look at his balls and his testicle and penis. And the way it hung told them whether he was a strong person or not. If it hung too far, just hanging down, they go, oh no, let that slave go. He's going to die in 6 months. Take him on out. He's not going to be able to do any work for us. They know it just by looking at your balls. They know it just by looking at your gums. So I'm telling people, we can learn things. Also between your toes. Each toe has a web skin between it. And that's exactly how I got started with Princess Bobbi Kristina. She was in a coma. So I started with pressure points, squeezing as hard as I could. And you know what I did? I squeezed each hand, both hands. No response. Squeeze the right leg. No response. When I start squeezing the left leg, Bobbi Kristina, boom, kicked. She was dead asleep, but she kicked out so hard. And when she kicked, it was kind of like a mule. I call it like a mule kick, like bam, it's like super hard, right? And I'm right in front of her when she kicked. So when she kicked, the power was coming so strong. I used to be in karate, so I'm good for dodging, okay? But anyway, so when she kicked, I did a little dodge like this, and I started laughing. And Bobby said, Doc, what's so funny? I said, Bobby, I said, I'm laughing because I think I shouldn't have jumped. He said, what do you mean? She would have kicked your mouth out, kicked your teeth out. I said, yeah, I should have stood here like a man and took that kick. And Bobby said, why would you want to do that? I said, then I could tell the world that Bobbi Kristina woke up from a coma, kicked the doctor's teeth straight out of his mouth with that kind of force. I said, I could have used those two teeth and I would have walked around with that gap and been a proud gapping man because Bobbi Kristina kicked those teeth out, waking up from a coma. Those would have been some blessed two teeth. I call that a hallelujah. And when she woke up, she was looking at me really mean and really mad. And Bobby said, he said, my daughter is looking at you. He said, Bobby is looking at you like she's really upset with you. He said, Doc, what's going on? I said, Bobby, what's going on is your daughter just went under the same equivalency as if I came to you right now and stomped on your toes with some paratrooper steel toe boots. You know what those paratroopers, those old boots with the steel? I said, if I came and stomped down on your toe, that's exactly what she felt. I said, but Bobby, I had to do it to wake her up. I said, she may be mad at me, but she's alive.
Yeah.
He said, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? I said, Bobbi, come on over here. Come over here. Come over here. So I took Bobbi, and I'll show you guys. There's a space in the back of your head. If you take your finger and you put it right back here, there's a gap. There's a space right back there at the base of your head. And it feels like a little indenture hole right in the center.
Mm-hmm.
In that center, I said, Bobbi, put your finger right there. It's the base where your head and your neck meet up. There's a little gap space right there in the center. I want everybody to touch it. And I want everybody to take your finger and move your hand. You do it right now. Move your finger around that. Mm-hmm. And when you do it, it feels like a serious massage to your brain. Mm-hmm. Am I right? Mm-hmm. I said, Bobbi, take your finger now that I got to work awake. I said, God got awake. Keep moving your finger right there in that spot. And Bobbi kept circling it. And as Bobbi was doing this, guess what she was saying? She started to say, excuse me. But as Bobbi was doing this, she started saying, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. She screamed, Daddy, so loud. And when she was screaming, Bobbi's face was this close to his daughter. He was 2 inches from her eyes. And she was screaming, Daddy, Daddy, like, help me, Daddy. I'm back, Daddy. What am I going to do, Daddy? When she screamed that was the most glorious moment of my life. Because that was a hallelujah. That let me know that she was back. She knew her dad's in front of her. She wanted to be in her dad's arms. And she was screaming, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. So she screamed so loud. People out there watching this video, I'm not going to apologize. I'll just say whenever I speak this portion, this part of what happened in the situation, it's almost impossible for me to tell you without crying. Because a 23-year-old girl laying here in the bed, and these people are trying to take her life away. God told me that you can get her back up. I prayed for 6 months to go help Bobbi Kristina. I knew that nobody else could help her but me. I knew I was the only one that could do this, okay? And so at the hospital, when she woke up and was screaming, Daddy, 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 people out in the hall, everybody heard of that. Whoa, whoa. I mean, this is like ring the bell, Bobbi Kristina's awake. I'm not Bobbi, but Pat Houston walked in the room. She walked over to Bobbi Kristina, Princess Bobbi Kristina. I call her Princess because man put her in a state to try to snap her out of her life, okay? She's a princess. So Pat Houston walked closer to her, got really close to Princess Bobbi Kristina. And the closer Pat got to Princess Bobbi Kristina started doing this. I'm telling you exactly, showing you exactly what she did. She was laying down like this, with her eyes open, looking at everybody. And when Pat walked over to her, she started going, she went like that.
Wow.
She tried with all her might to come up with strength to get out the bed and kick Pat Houston's butt. That's what I saw in Bobbi Kristina, Princess Bobbi Kristina. If she could, she would have got out of that bed and tore that woman alive, tore to pieces.
Now,
And so Pat, this is what she did. You got to hear this now. Pat Houston, the funny part, Pat Houston, the funny part was, Pat Houston, she looked Princess Bobbi Kristina straight in the eyes, and she did like this, slowly starting backing up. She backed away from Princess Bobbi Kristina. She didn't like other people do, turn around and walk away. No, she backed her way out of that room. She didn't want to take her eyes off of Princess Bobbi Kristina, because she thought she may get out and snap her eyes out. So help me. That was the situation. Brandy Boyd come in the room. Oh, she was so happy. She's screaming happy. Wow, wow, wow. Brandy's just hysterically happy. And so she walked over to Princess Bobbi Kristina. She said, if you know that I brought the prophet doctor here to help you stay alive, to bring you back. She said, Bobbi, she called her, what's her name? Chrissy. Chrissy. She said, if you know that I brought him here to help you, she said, nod your head one time. She nodded. She said, if you know that he's the one that woke you up from the coma and got you back, she said, nod 2 times. She nodded 2 times. So we knew that she was back straight out from from her coma because she's taking commands.
Yeah.
After that, Bobby said, Doc, he said, I never told you this. He said, there's a meeting going on in 1 hour from now. He said, in that meeting, it's a determination on my daughter's life. Were they going to let her live or die? He said, Doc, I need you to go in and speak for me. He said, I need you to represent the Brown family against these Houstons over here. He said, I need you to speak for me because you know the wording. He said, you know the protocol. You know how to talk to these people. He said, I can't talk that kind of language. He said, I need you to be me, to go in there and be my voice. I said, Bobby, I was called to come here and help your daughter bring her back successfully. And the success was done. God did it through my hands. I said, Bobby, I did not come here for the political side of this. I didn't come here to get involved like that. And when he said, Doc, you got to do it, he said it to me again. When Bobby said it to me the second time to do it, God told me to get in there. So I said, okay, Bobby, I go in there, I do it. Hour later, I walk into this room. In this room, the head CEO, the chief of staff, the head doctor, the surgeon, the head administrator, the head nurse. There was one side of the table with about 12 people. And on the side of the table I'm sitting on, like I'm sitting on this side of the table right now, to my left, immediate to me, was Pat Houston. The next person to her was Bobbi Brown's cousin. I'm trying to think of her name. Mimi, I think it was Mimi, something like that. But her cousin. And she was there representing the Houston family, Bobbi Brown's cousin. She wasn't there for the Brown side. She was there for the Houston side. Now, to my the right of me, Bobbi Brown sit right there. Right next to Bobbi Brown was Tommy Brown, Bobbi Brown's brother, his older brother. And then right next to him was a brother called Uncle Ray. Uncle Ray was Whitney Houston's bodyguard for 25 years. In this meeting, Bobbi Brown told the doctors, he said, this guy's Dr. Jollie Harris. He's going to be speaking for me. I'm not saying anything, nothing. He's doing all the speaking for me. So the doctor says, okay, everything's fine. He says, since Dr. Jollie Harris, since you're here, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. They all introduced themselves to me. Boom, 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 boom. They went down the line. Then it was time for me to introduce myself to them. They said, tell us who you are and why you're here, blah, 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 blah. So I told them that I'm here representing God. I said, I'm not here for what you think I'm here for. I said, I'm not here for a child of Bobbi Brown. I'm not here for a child of Whitney Houston. I said, I'm here for a child of God. I came here to claim her godly rights, her spiritual rights, her heavenly rights, her womanly rights, her moral rights. I said, when you hear me speak, you will no longer hear the voice of Dr. Jollie Harris today. You will only hear the voice of God. That's exactly what I told them. So we got into the conversation and I spoke to them and let them know what I do and how many children and how many different people I've helped in the same type situations. I let them know about a young boy that fell into a pool, and this young boy had these tumors in his brain and this concussion. And this young boy had 126 wires connected to his brain because there were no vital signs in him at all. So I let them know that I'm helping another person. Princess Bobbi Kristina was struck upside the head. This boy, young boy, fell in a pool and basically drowned and hit his head. So I was letting them know, I said, well, I know you guys think I can't do stuff like this. So here's a gentleman on the phone. All I got to do is push the button. And the gentleman came right on. He says, yes, he's helped save my son's life. My son had 127 wires connected to his brain at UCLA Medical Center. The man told the doctors, he said that 12 neurologists, 12 brain surgeons at UCLA Medical Hospital made a decision at 7 p.m. to let his son die. They told the father that tomorrow morning by 5:30 in the morning, we're going to shut the machines off and your son will expire. A brother from the Nation of Islam called me and told me about going over to help this young man. A brother 12, another brother, brother Shaheed, Captain Shaheed. So, you know, I'm a Christian and I help a lot of brothers. I help a lot of people from all different types of background. Doesn't matter the religion. So I ran over there fast as I could. And when I got in the door, I spoke to the father and I told the father that I was sent from Allah. And that Allah wants him to listen to me and not listen to no doctors, no one else. I said to him exact words. I said, if you listen to the voice that God has gave me to give to you, then your son will be out of here in 24 hours at home. And the dad said, what are you going to do? I said, we're going to pray. And then after we pray, then I'll show you what we're going to do. Because to be honest with you, there are many situations. There are many times where I go into a situation and people go, oh, he thinks he knows all that. He thinks he's coming like he's some kind of hero. No, I don't come like I'm a hero. I come with God. So in critical situations like this, I pray. And when I open my eyes, God tells me what to do and how to do it. In this situation, this young man had above here, we're going to go right back to Princess Bobbi Kristina, but this young man had a sign above his head that said, no sulfur. That black salt I just handed you, that black salt, this is loaded with sulfur. This salt stinks. When you lick it or wet it, it smells like a stink bomb. You lick it right now, it's going to smell like a stink bomb. You can lick it right now if you want to hurt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it smells like a stink bomb.
It does.
So this is what I did. I took this salt, but a smaller piece. And I had the dad take the salt and put it in his mouth. Oh, I did the same thing with Bobby too. I forgot to tell you that. I had the dad put this salt in his mouth. I said, suck on it for a minute. He said, what am I going to do? I said, take it out of your mouth now and rub it all over your son's tongue. He did that. His son's eyes started flickering. This salt right here, along with the pressure points, are the two ways that Princess Bobbi Kristina woke up from the coma. This salt right here, I said, Bobby, put it in your mouth, suck on it. He sucked on it. He said, ugh. I said, suck on it. He sucked on it for a minute. He said, what am I going to do now? I said, let's go over here with me. We went to Princess Bobbi Kristina. I said, open her mouth. He opened her mouth. I said, hold the salt tightly in your hand and rub it all over her tongue. So what I had Bobby do was take the salt and get it ready, prepare it. See, that's his daughter. So his saliva works perfect because that's his blood.
Yeah.
Did you get what I just said?
Yeah.
So I had him lick that salt, wet it down, and put it in his daughter's mouth. When he put that in his daughter's mouth and started rubbing all over, she started frowning and making all kind of faces, and she woke up even more. And she was mad because she didn't like the smell and she didn't like the taste. But from there, she was wide awake. Princess Bobbi Kristina, I want the world to see what I'm doing. Princess Bobbi Kristina was sitting just like this, watching TV for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, she's awake from a coma, watching TV. They would not mess with her as long as I was on the property. They knew as long as Dr. Jollie was in town, they couldn't get away with nothing. Okay? Because Bobby left me, as I guess you would say, the facilitator over her. I said, Bobby, where you going? Where you going? He says, Doc, you got to stay here till I come back. I got to do these couple of concerts. There were concerts that he had to do. And I didn't know he had to do it, but he was forced to have to do because his child support, he had bills to pay, big bills to pay. And people are trying to knock him down if he don't bring that money through. So he had to go pay these bills. He said, but Doc, stay here with you. He said, you promise you're not? I said, I'm going to be right here with her, Bobby. I'm going to let nothing happen to your daughter. So as long as I was there, they wouldn't mess with her at all. But as soon as I left the facility and had to go back to LA, And to be honest with you, I didn't tell people this, but I almost lost my apartment because I didn't have any money, living in North Hollywood, and God just prevailed, picked me up when I got back. But I was really afraid of losing my place. But I stayed there as long as I could until I had to get back to LA. And when I was there, she was doing well. People were starting to come visit her, and it was doing great. And the the Houston side, they pretended like they were happy, okay, but they were not. We also had a situation right before I went to that big doctor's meeting. We went to a situation where Bobbi said, Doc, since you got my daughter awake, I want you to go in this room with me with the family members, different women, and you teach them how to keep her going, because you're going to have to eventually go back to LA, but I want you to teach them. And when I went in this little room with Pat Houston and Bobbi's relatives and Donna Houston, there was 4, 5, 6 different women in there. But when I walked in this room, the first thing, and it's never happened in my life, when I say I respect women in a way like you would never, ever dream, it's never happened in my life. When I walked in this room, I looked to my right and I went off on a lady. I just immediately went off on her. I called her the adversary. I called her the devil. Come to find out that this woman that I chewed out and didn't know why I was chewing out, God did this. Come to find out she was Bobbi Kristina's attorney. Hold it now. Not only was she her attorney, she was her, what do you call the representative for the person in the family? The family, the word just left my brain. She was the family's,
I can't think of the word too, but
you know what I want to say.
spokesperson type base.
No, well, she was the family representative. She represented spokesman for the family. She was the family person. So you can't represent the family and be attorney too. Okay?
Oh,
Conservator.
conservative.
Yeah, you can't be a conservator and be the damn attorney too. You can't be on both sides. And this woman, she was a conservator and she's an attorney too. She worked in the family side and the attorney side. And I looked at this woman, I looked at Pat Houston, and I looked back, and God said they're in cahoots. So I knew right away that Pat Houston set up this attorney. Come to find out later that this attorney's a friend of Pat Houston, and the judge that they went to, they gave Pat Houston the 50-50 custody. See, the reason why what happened in that meeting, here's the big point, here's the elephant in the room, the big bear, ladies and gentlemen. In the meeting in the room, it was a 50-50 decision. And the head CEO of the hospital said, Dr. Jollie, the way it goes in the state of Georgia, when it's 50-50 custody, both people have to agree. Bobbi's got to agree and Pat's got to agree. He said, if both of these people both agree, Dr. Jollie, you can continue. We know that you woke her up. We see what you've done. We applaud what you've done. We understand you have some ways of doing things that we couldn't. But the bottom line here is we can't allow you to continue with Bobbi Kristina unless these two both agree. Bobbi said, of course I want him to do it. For sure I want him to do it. He said, I put my name on the damn dotted line. If anything goes wrong with my daughter, he slammed that table and said, I take the responsibility. Bobbi Brown, he said, let him continue. Let him continue. And Pat Houston said, I vote no. I'll say it again. The doctor said they both have to agree for Dr. Jollie to continue. And she's already awake from her coma. She's watching TV. Pat Houston says, I vote to let her go. She said, I know Chrissy better than anyone. She wouldn't want to live if she knew she's going to be bedridden. She said she wouldn't want to live if she knew that she's going to be hospitalized and not be able to walk and not be able to get up. She said she wouldn't be able to live, wouldn't want to live if she knew she couldn't get on the stage and do stuff like her mom. She said she wouldn't want to live if she knew she couldn't get up and do all these things. So it's my vote to let her go, peacefully pass away. When Pat Houston said, let Princess Bobbi Kristina peacefully pass away, and we're looking at a young lady, 23 years old, sitting in the bedroom watching TV, and you're saying let a 23-year-old girl peacefully pass away? Black people are not made like that. We don't have a heart. Even if we hate you, we don't have the heart to say kill them and let them die. We are not like that. We don't have it in our guts. And when Pat Houston said, "It's my vote to let her go and let her peacefully pass away," I turned and looked at Pat Houston, and my exact words to her was, I said, "Who died and made you the head of Alpha and Omega? Who made you God? Well, you get to say who comes in and go out." That's all I said to her. But when I looked at her, God gave me the vision that this is not a woman. This is a demonic situation. And this demon wants Princess Bobbi Kristina to leave here. It was my goal to get Princess Bobbi Kristina up walking out the hospital with some hallelujahs, back on the red carpet, singing her mama's songs and grabbing her mama's money. That was the deal.
Wow.
And they did everything they could to shut it down so she could not. I'm saying a young lady alive, kicking it, ready to go.